Hello, everyone. For several boring reasons, I wasn't able to record this intro in the studio. And so here we are live from my living room. You can see Elvis in the background there and some damp proofing that hasn't been painted over. So basically, I just wanted to leave you a message to say that we will be back with season two. Listen to me, season two. I've been Americanized. Series 2 of Class Clown, and we're going to be kicking things off with the fantastic Joel Dommett, who I love talking to. I love talking to all the guests, but it was nice to see Joel. I don't get to see him that often. But we thought we'd leave you this week with a full episode of my chat with Dr. Natalie Corley, a psychotherapist who has done lots of extra content with us, where we go over the episodes of Class Clown and discuss the themes and anything else that comes up. This week's episode is Vittorio Angeloni's, a fantastic episode that had an incredible response. Especially, there was a lot about autism that came up. So we kind of get into that a bit, and I think you'll like it. The response for the Adam Rowe was great, which is why we decided to put it all out for everyone. For the Patreons, don't worry. You're still getting extra content. You will get all episodes 48 hours in advance. Of course, they're ad-free as well. And it's only £3. I say only because that is less than £1 a week. So please join us if you haven't done so thus far. And also you can ask me some questions if you like. Obviously, I'm the one doing the questions in Class Clown, but if you'd like to ask me anything you want me to answer them, then I'll do that over on the Patreon, you lucky people. And you can do that at patreon.com/classclown, or you can just tap on the link. We've left it in the description. That's all. I won't stop you any further. Go and crack on and enjoy myself, Dr. Natalie Corley and Vittorio Angeloni. Cheers.
Hello, and welcome to some more Patreon content. Thank you if you've just joined us on Patreon. I'm, of course, Sean Walsh, joined as ever by Dr. Natalie Corley.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So today we're going to look at Vittorio Angeloni's episode. Of course, I loved the chat with Vittorio. I remember seeing him very early days start out, and he was one of those comedians that instantly you just kind of knew, this guy's got it. Mm-hmm. He's going to go places, and it was a very open chat. I have to say, interestingly, perhaps only for me, of all of the people I've talked to so far, Vittorio's was the one that I most connected with. The way he kind of got into it, the way that he kind of sees the world or feels in social situations, I related to. Not so much the hallucinating, which was huge. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the panic attacks, but that was new to me. The hallucinating. Mm-hmm. Did you? Well, before I ask you what you thought about that, let's play a clip.
When I have really severe panic attacks, I hallucinate, and the hallucinations are almost always a room full of people pointing at me and laughing and talking about me and like laughing at something that I don't know what they're laughing at.
Hell. Right.
So the stand-up thing on a level is at least I know what they're laughing at.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think I swore in reaction to that.
Yeah, it's a very painful image, isn't it? He talks about autism and being diagnosed with autism.
Yes.
And actually...
he's currently in the process of, yeah.
Yes, but there's quite a lot of markers, I'd say, that suggest.
Yes.
And actually, hallucinations are more likely with people who are ASC. I think it's because of their sensory processing differences and being hyper aware sometimes, so they can sort of, and also their relationship between self and other. So sometimes they can misinterpret internal dialogue as an auditory hallucination.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what about what I thought was also extremely interesting was the actual hallucination itself.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I've been doing stand-up nearly 20 years now, and you end up talking to comedians about how they got into it and why they got into it, and we talk about that on Class Clown.
Mm-hmm.
I think an obvious thought I had, which I can't even remember if we went on to talk about it, but was that he's trying to control. It's almost like Batman. It's so funny. I watched Batman Begins recently, the other day. He's trying to control the thing he's afraid of, People
Yeah.
laughing at him.
Yeah.
Well, right. I that's my biggest fear. I need to control this.
Yeah. And it's interesting that he said being on stage brings him relief,
Yeah.
which, you know, for the average person, being on stage is like one of the top fears.
Yes.
But I think for him, because of his processing, he's in a role, there's no ambiguity, there's a set thing, I'm in control, I'm leading it,
Yes.
and that makes him feel safe,
Yes.
rather than, I'm not sure of the social cues, I'm not sure if I'm getting something wrong and I'm being ridiculed.
Yes.
He's just taken it and taken ownership of it and made it his own.
See, that's exactly what I mean by the one I related to the most. When I started, I was 20. I did one gig when I was 20, and I
young.
used to think, yes, very young, and I used to think being up here was, I just relaxed, and I used to think up here is such a strange thing to think. Up here, I don't have to pay bills. I used to think up here, I don't have to fill out an application form. Like, you can't get me. You can't get me, system.
Admin can't reach me up here.
Exactly my biggest fear. Admin. Yes. Okay. So that's very interesting.
And actually, you know, people do have, about 5 to 15% of us will have hallucinations that aren't psychotic in nature. People get very freaked out when they think about auditory hallucinations.
Yes.
But it happens under stress. It happens in loss. A lot of women have hallucinations after losing a husband, that they see the husband. I think it's about 30%.
Wow.
In people with sight impairments, they can have visual hallucinations because it's almost like the brain is trying to create stimulation.
Yes.
So they can happen, and it doesn't mean, you know, lots of people think I'm hallucinating, it's schizophrenia or something. But
Yes.
It just is something that can happen to all of us.
It's a way of dealing with, well, trauma.
Trauma, yeah, it can definitely happen in response to trauma.
I
Yeah.
suppose. Yes. Okay. Well, let's have a look at another clip.
I spoke about it on stage, spoke about the prospect of having autism and beginning this process. And it turns out that loads of people with autism had been coming to the tour shows. And up until that point, didn't realize why they liked my stuff so much.
Okay.
But when I started talking about it, they went, oh.
Okay.
And then in the merch desk, they were like, lots and lots and lots of them. And then the other thing was lots of autism practitioners
Yes.
and specialists were also at the shows by chance. And one of them very kindly, actually, and maybe about 6 of them offered to take me through the assessment process privately for free. Because it should be about $3,000. So I'm going through it right now. I've had my first assessment, and then I had to do a questionnaire. My girlfriend had to do a questionnaire, and my mum had to do a questionnaire. And both my girlfriend and my mum said, "Can you let them know that we do like you?"
Okay. So this is a kind of cliffhanger. We're going to find out.
I'm on appointment 1 of 4.
Yes. I mean, you mentioned that lots of people connecting with him, and what is seemingly, he's in the process of it, autism. Do you have any more thoughts on that?
I think everybody's developing in their understanding of autism and the spectrum and how wide it is, because I think it used to be, people with autism aren't very good at humour or picking up humour. And actually now you've got an example of a comedian who's obviously very skilled and very good. And
Absolutely.
drawing an audience of...
And comedians, since I've started, the joke, is that all comedians are autistic. That's the kind of...
Oh, right.
You're friends with...
I thought it was that they were all depressed and dark.
It's evolved.
We're including neurodiversity now. Yeah.
Exactly. No, there is the depressed and dark thing, but actually, autism is the big, everyone says that the reason that... these aren't scientists, by the way. These are comedians.
Yeah,
saying
self-diagnosing.
This. Yeah, self-diagnosing
Yeah.
is that the reason you can kind of view the world in the way that a comedian can is because there's some sort of
Yeah,
connection.
I guess having an observer stance as well. You have to be able to be 1 foot out to look at what's happening and then comment on it.
Yes, which he mentioned with being a teenager, kind of learning.
Yeah, one of the funniest things he said was, because often a big thing in people on the autistic spectrum is social justice and having a...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. Did he know that?
Well, he mentions giving feedback to the school when he wanted to be head boy, and he said, I think teaching should be more closely monitored.
Yeah. But I mean, did he, I can't remember. I don't think he actually mentioned that is affiliated with autism.
Right. Okay.
So oh my God.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And he was furious as well, wasn't he, that a teacher had gotten some of her resources off Bite Size. And he just felt, this isn't just, this isn't right. I've got to make this known. And obviously didn't go down well for that teacher.
No. Do you have any idea why that is? This obsession with justice?
It's, they often have a fixation on rules and very rule governed. So everything should follow a pattern rule in order for it to make sense. So then that comes into ambiguous areas like social justice and things.
It's interesting you say rules and structure because, stand-up, and I think in particular probably Vittorio's, is that, there are rules and there is structure to and formats to his stand-up. Mm-hmm. Right, that's very interesting. Was there anything else that kind of took your eye when watching the chat with Vittorio?
I guess there was lots of things about autism peppered through that maybe, like you say, he didn't acknowledge was necessarily a sign.
Oh, right.
He talks about anxiety and panic. That's often very comorbid with people on the autistic spectrum because they're trying to cope, they're trying to mask a lot of the time, so that can lead to burnout, anxiety,
right,
different mood regulation difficulties.
And what about that kind of observing how people are and then trying to kind of adapt yourself to fit in as well?
Yeah.
He talked about being a teenager and...
He talks about having rehearsed scripts.
Yes.
So we sort of practice a conversation before it happened. And I imagine as a child or a teen, if that conversation then didn't go in the way he'd rehearsed it, that probably would lead to panic and not knowing how to direct it from there. I wonder, how is he with heckling?
Funnily enough, I think we spoke about this. I went on his and Mike's podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think heckling came up, and I think I think he'll forgive me for saying this, and obviously it should go without saying, he's a wonderful comedian, and I think he's brilliant. I think he goes in quite hard, and
I guess it stops anybody else from doing it later in the show.
Yes, I imagine so. So autism seems to be, I think, I'll be forgiven for saying, a kind of hot topic at the moment. Mm-hmm. And why is that now? Why is that happening now?
I guess we're learning more about it, and it's more widely available, and we're looking at the whole spectrum rather than having a narrow diagnosis. So people are resonating with little bits and then applying it to themselves. If people feel
self-diagnosing,
which is
how do you feel as a professional? How do you feel about that?
Honestly, irritated.
Okay, yeah. Because that's understandable.
Yeah, they go on TikTok.
Yes,
and I don't know what the actual stats are, but it's a huge percentage of TikTok information is not given by qualified or educated people. So then that sort of snowballs on itself, and people pick things up and say them, and people will just come in and say, I am. And so my first question is, who's diagnosed that? Why do you think that's the case? How is that label helpful to you?
Yes.
Why are you seeking that label? What are you trying to understand about yourself? Can we understand that in a different way?
Wow. But it's quite difficult. I would say it's quite difficult not to.
Yeah.
With the algorithm as it is. Mm-hmm. Pops up a video and it says five ways to tell that you're autistic. Do you
won't believe number 4?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you hungry ever? Oh my God. Yes. That must be. Oh my. Yeah. So you can see why people are doing it. So in which case, what should people do instead of self-diagnosing?
Well, if you can see a professional, then do. But obviously access is very difficult for a lot of people. So go to trusted sources, go to NHS website, can have a look at the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual that has all the diagnostic criteria. I had somebody come to me recently and say, I'm ASC, Autistic Spectrum Condition. So I explored it with them. They're like, because I just don't like some textures of food. It's like, it's just being a person. So you have to, Yeah, don't just zone in to one. There's 3 main areas to look at. Difficulties with interpersonal relating, having fixed rule-governed special interests, and sensory processing difficulties, which are quite broad in
What's
themselves.
the sensory processing difficulty? Sorry, I kind of got the other two.
So it can be very difficult with lots of noises, loud noises, bright lights, certain textures of clothing, certain foods.
Oh, right.
Some people have, they're called like safe foods.
Yes.
So very low stimulus foods. So it'll be all beige things like waffles, chips, spaghetti.
I love
that sort of
chips.
stuff. Well,
Can I
there you go.
self-diagnose? Okay. Yes. All right, understood. One thing that I've never quite understood about and forgive me for my naivety here, I'm a layman, as much as a layman as you could be. In regards to the word, the use of the word, the spectrum,
Yeah.
I suppose I'm coming in from a comedic angle here, just kind of naturally, I'm always thinking, would that be the beginning of a routine? Which is probably a very unhealthy way to look at life. But I always, with the spectrum, if someone is over here on this side of the spectrum, and then the other person is over here on this side of the spectrum, because of the spectrum, they've been branded the same title. Right, but surely if you're that far away
Yeah.
from the other side, it's unfair for that to be given the same title.
Yeah. And that's why, just to add more confusion,
Okay, go for it.
every individual with autism is different, and it's more circular than a spectrum like that.
Yes, it has got more confusing.
And I'm sorry, it has.
No,
but
yeah,
because of
go
the
on.
different areas, you could be really high functioning in interpersonal relationships, but really struggle with rigid thinking and not be able to manage overstimulation. That would look very, very different from somebody who is non-verbal, so socially really struggles,
Yes.
but is fine with, uses music to soothe or uses repetitive movements and stimming. They're 2 wildly different people,
Yes.
but they're all part of the autistic spectrum.
Kind of, yeah, the spectrum, the kind of under the same umbrella.
Yeah,
But you
but
can
it's
see why
huge.
that is confusing, and why has that got? Do you think that's a good idea for that to all be under the same title?
Yeah, I think they're trying to break it up in some ways, but I don't always know if that's helpful because then it sort of hones in on certain things. You just got to treat every individual differently, but
Okay.
with those sort of broader bases in mind and where they are on each one.
And where does ADHD fall in? With this, in regards to this, is there a commonality between the two?
Yeah, there's quite a high comorbidity, which means they co-occur of ADHD and autism, and they are both neurodiversity, so differences in the brain,
Yes.
but they are different from one another. So ADHD is more about needing more stimulation, so more dopamine to reach the threshold to feel that you can attend to things.
Oh, okay, right, that makes sense. I think that those are one again. With comedians, and it seems that, the creative industries, music and acting and whatnot, and art. Why is it that field, that line of work, has such a strong connection with being on the spectrum, ADHD? What is that?
This is going to be very crudely said because I'm not a scientist or
Yes, not to worry.
about the brain.
Safe space, absolute
Thank
safe.
you.
Our patrons understand.
Thank you, everyone. But when the brain specializes, so we have loads and loads of connections being formed, and there's certain points in life where they get pruned. With somebody who's neurodiverse, a lot of those remain, which means it can be difficult for overall functioning, but there's certain areas that are more developed.
Intensified.
Exactly. So they tend to be, very, very, very competent in one area. So maybe music or maybe their fixed interest, or sometimes you have people with autism who... I worked with a young lad who by the age of like 6, could draw you all the motorways in the UK and every A road and B road and the whole thing, but didn't ever draw a person or a car or a
Right,
bird.
wow.
It was all.
And what a shame for him that we have Google Maps now, because he could have
flown.
absolutely smashed A to Z. Don't worry, I'll draw this. There you go. $4.99. That's on me. Wow. Okay. Obviously, when you work in, entertainment, and you work in one of the, I suppose, the creative industries, and everyone seems to be on said spectrum, it feels strange, because for me, in my world, everyone is. So this, what's the phrase you've been using when your brain isn't like everyone else's?
Neurodiverse. Yeah.
Well, for my life, that is the normal one. I don't really know the other brain, because I don't know anyone that's not in comedy or in music. I don't actually. It's terrible. I started too young.
You don't know any neurotypical.
In comedy, we call them muggles.
I was going to say boring.
Boring, yeah. That's what they call it in Harry Potter, isn't it? The people that don't do magic.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
In comedy, we call them muggles.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think I do. No.
I referred to myself as neurotypical with my team all the time. Then a few years ago, loads of them have come to me and said, "You are so hugely ADHD, but you don't recognise it." So we're seeing it in other people, we're seeing it in ourselves.
Yes.
But it's even with people who do meet the criteria.
Yes.
My first question often to parents is, why will this label be helpful? And if it's
That's a great question. That's what I want to know that. Yeah.
Well, if it helps with understanding, so now I know that I function this way in the world and these are the tools I can use, or if it helps with access, so this will get me access to a specialist or maybe some funding or whatever, then great. But if it's just to say, why is it helpful?
Yes. I've not been, everyone tells me I'm ADHD. I think I've said to you before on here that my missus, we have 2 children. She works with children. She does work with autistic children and neurodiverse children, and she says that I'm on the spectrum and all of that, and I've not bothered to go and get that checked.
So she's on a busman's holiday and she's at home with you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. She's in hell.
It's a different way of putting it.
Yeah. But I found myself, I think and like we all are, so aware of this topic now that it's just kind of in the back of my brain, and I've had a few instances recently where I'm not looking for a diagnosis, by the way, a professional diagnosis, but like where someone has kind of almost accused me of being rude. Someone said, someone said to me, "Why are you acting like we've never met?" And I had absolutely no idea. And I thought, I can't say ADHD because I've not been diagnosed. And I can't say autism because I've not been diagnosed. And I went, I'm really sorry. Whatever it is that I've done wrong, I'm not aware of it. And it's just the way my brain is. That's what I said.
Reasonable.
It was a bit awkward.
But you weren't defensive. You were.
I just thought, this keeps on happening. Something's going. I'm not aware of. Of this kind of being rude, or I don't know what I'm just meant to be.
And other people are pointing it out. But it's not the same as like weaponized incompetence. Like there's a few examples of people who have done very bad things, inappropriate and unacceptable things, and then said, "Well, it's because I've got this diagnosis."
Yes.
And you think there's loads of people with that diagnosis that aren't doing.
You're talking about people that have done inappropriate things in the workplace.
Yeah.
Yes, that workplace being a kitchen on MasterChef. So, yes, that was I walk around with my pants down because I've got autism.
Because I've got autism, yeah. And I should have been more protected. No, I know loads of people with autism. I've never seen anybody flash anybody else. So.
No, has that been? But in all seriousness, is there any record of that being part of the spectrum?
Well, I guess there's impulse disinhibition and things like that. So maybe children not quite learning the social norms, but I'd say
All right,
a man
Dr.
that's
Colley, whose side are you on?
a man that's functioning relatively well,
Yes.
I'd say absolutely not.
Okay. All right. Fine. Yeah. I weaponized incompetence. I have. How I understand that to be is being so useless that you're now using it to your advantage, and I am guilty of that.
Yeah. So doing the dishes so badly that you never have to do them again.
I wouldn't say dishes. I would say life.
All right.
I would go much grander.
You've really gone for it.
I'm so useless at every aspect of life that no one in their right mind would ever come to me for help.
Well, we know that you've been escaping admin by being on stage for a lot of your life. So there you go. You're making it adaptive.
Yeah.
Making it into a career.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's great. I think we've got a third clip here to look at.
I punched my primary school principal because I was trying to run home.
You punched your primary school principal. So when I said, Victoria...
That's not naughty, though. She was trying to stop me from running away. And I was
No.
like, take that, Mrs. McCacken.
No, okay. So that's quite naughty. I'd say punching
But it's not like
your headmaster is quite naughty.
It's not mischievous.
No.
It was a blind panic.
I would say it's against the rules.
Technically, it is against the rules to punch your principal.
Right. Do we know what that was about, if you don't mind me asking?
So,
What?
I went away to like a residential music course when I was about 9, and that's the first time I had real sort of separation anxiety, panic attacks about being away
From home?
I'm away from like my mum and dad.
Yeah, I'll stand by that. I do think that's quite naughty.
Yeah, but when you look at that through an autism lens,
Yes.
if you think about how that contradicts being rule governed, he's in what you might call a meltdown moment. So he's so flooded and overwhelmed. And he actually says what he needed in that moment was to escape because he was so overwhelmed and somebody stood in his way. And he's so disinhibited and dysregulated that he just punched her.
Yes, and that would be one of the advantages of, had he been diagnosed earlier in his life.
Yeah.
The teachers would have been better able to deal with that.
Yeah, if I was with a young person that you could tell is experiencing that, you want to remove additional stimulus. So lights, turn any sound off, only have one person talking, try and regulate them. In acute settings, we have things called safety pods, which are like...
Acute settings, sorry.
So if you're in like an inpatient service for children with complex needs and neurodiversity.
Yes, and you worked, is this what you work in now?
I work in community residential.
Yes.
But I do take children, for the service I work for, we take children from acute settings. I was in one yesterday, actually. And they have like rooms where it's low stimulation. And there's what's called a safety pod, which is like a big bean bag. And you sort of guide them onto that so that they're sort of immobilized, but not in a trapping way.
Yeah.
But it just takes all the stimulation out, and then they can bring themselves down. If not, children will just, like Vittorio did, just physically act out as like a survival mechanism.
Yes. So you've got to kind of go to some extra lengths to calm them.
Yeah.
Right. That beanbag does sound comfy.
Yeah. Well, you can't get out of it. So once you're in it...
You can't get out of a normal beanbag.
Yeah, well, we can't.
Right.
But children should be able to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Was there anything else? I mean, I spoke to Vittoria for about an hour, and obviously it kind of heavily lent on autism, although he hasn't been diagnosed. That seemed to be the kind of thread going through. Was there anything else that kind of popped out to you?
I guess his work ethic, and there was a few threads of that coming through. So one was he sort of revised how to be a young person in school, which is like masking. And then it's like he revised to be a comedian.
What do you mean it's like masking, sorry?
So masking, so a lot of girls with autism will watch other girls, learn what they do, and just copy them. So then they don't get picked up as having any needs because they copy them so well.
Does that then mean that there's kind of some difficulty in being yourself? Where's the sense of self if you're imitating the world around you?
Well, it's exactly that. It's a sense of, I don't fit in. I'm not really sure why or what these unspoken rules are.
Yes.
Everybody else seems to know.
Yes.
So I'll just copy exactly what you do. And that's where it tends to get picked up at secondary school. Because in primary school, they can kind of get away with. But then in secondary school, where it's a bit more independent,
Yes.
and they go, here's your timetable, sort yourself out. And they don't have that one person to copy. That's where it falls apart.
Oh, wow. I got kicked out of college for copying someone's work. That's how straight away, that's where I went to.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've done that.
We were in business. I was doing business, GMVQ.
All right.
And he, my friend Kaz, we had to choose a business. He chose his dad's Indian restaurant. I was working at TK Maxx, so I chose TK Maxx.
Obviously.
I asked him to send me his coursework so I could use it as a template. And instead, I couldn't be bothered to just use it as a template. So every time it just said Karim's Indian restaurant, I just changed it to TK Maxx.
Just thinking of the different business models.
Yes. I remember I was brought in and the teacher said, so when did TK Maxx start doing onion bhajis? Back to the serious point that you were talking about, which was very interesting, is that not being able to imitate, and then that kind of leaving them seemingly, well, lost, I suppose.
Yeah.
So what happens? So how do you know what is to be done then when you can no longer mask? Is it going to take decades for you to kind of be able to live without masking?
Yeah, because I do a lot with young people, it's called psychoeducation. So you start teaching them what their label means, how it means their brain works, how they function in the world. But if you think it takes them 2 years to get a diagnosis, and then we have to teach them in ways that they can understand what that diagnosis means, it's quite a long journey to self-awareness and knowing yourself, which we're all doing anyway, which is hard enough anyway.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I think I stopped you there to ask you about the masking, but you were continuing to say something else. So it's the masking.
And then he also I guess it's the rule governed. He talked about being in the orchestra and that discipline and that level of work. And he sort of applied that to comedy. And he almost says, I can't understand why all other comedians aren't working to this level of discipline.
Yes.
But he is a really high functioning, high output, high achieving.
Oh my God. Yes, very much so. In fact, when, he does, as I've said, he does a podcast with Mike Rice, and Mike Rice does a very, very funny, maybe a bit mean thing where when Vittorio says something that's maybe, kind of well researched or quite quick, very quick, Mike Rice will go boop, 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 boop. Like he'll make this kind of computer noise. Boop, 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 boop,
Oh wow!
boop. Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's there. I think I know what Mike.
Because he's processing all the time,
yes.
isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know until at the time. I didn't know when I was talking to him until after it went out that the orchestra that he was playing with. Did you know this? That's like the top. That's like the Champions League of musicals. Yeah, and he didn't make me aware of that, and I didn't know.
Wow.
So he's just throwing it away. Oh, I went to this. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, I went to this thing. But that was like saying I went to, I got a master's at whatever, Cambridge. And
So he's the top of, seeking to be the top of, I guess as well, sometimes people with autism, they have a fixed special interest and then they can become quite preoccupied with that and then they'll drop it and move on to something else. So maybe for him, that orchestra's, moved. He's moved
That's gone
on.
now. He's a comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a competitive? Do you know if this might just be the comedian in him and in comedians? But is competitiveness in any way connected to these things?
I'd say more in ADHD.
Well, when I spoke to Jill Scott, she mentioned ADHD.
Yeah. If you use novelty and competition and a bit more higher stakes sometimes with tasks with young people with ADHD, it makes them more able to attend to it and focus on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We asked our patrons if they had anything naughty that they've done that they want to get in touch and tell us about. This one, do we have a name? Who's this from? It's anonymous, yes, to protect you. And this is from Who Knows? And they said, my parents were hosting a family barbecue. I was aged 9 and telling my slightly older cousin I have a boyfriend. She tells me that boyfriends and girlfriends show each other their bottoms. My boyfriend so happened to be playing outside on his bike. We lived on the same cul-de-sac. I knocked on the window to get his attention and then moodied him as he rode past. My grandma saw and was mortified. It actually caused an argument between my parents and grandparents as my mum and dad kind of just thought it was funny.
It's quite funny. And
It's all right, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
bit of bum. It's fine. I mean, Greg Wallace has done a lot worse.
Yeah.
You know. So, well, thank you for that. Yes, and keep sending those in. You can keep sending them in DM Class Clown Pod, or you can send them to me at Sean Walsh with 2 N's. And of course, let's not forget, if you're interested and you're looking for a book to read, Natalie, don't you just so happen to have one?
Yeah, the paperback's just come out. It's called Just About Coping. So it's available.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Available online and in all good bookstores. You can get that. That's enough for now, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. I've been Sean Walsh. This has been Class Clown. Ta-da.